All right, so buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving deep into a book that really gets you thinking, AI Superpowers by Kai-Fu Lee.
Yeah, it really does. And this book doesn't just talk about the tech. It's about the massive changes AI could bring to the whole world, especially with China in the mix.
And China's role is huge in all this, right? Lee really dives into how China's becoming this AI powerhouse.
Absolutely. But he doesn't shy away from the downsides either, like what happens to jobs when AI takes over.
Yeah.
But, he also offers some hope, showing ways we can adapt and use AI for good while keeping hold of what makes us human.
Right. So before we get too far ahead, let's rewind a bit. Lee takes us back to the early days of AI research, way back in the 1950s when it was just getting started. There were two main approaches back then. One was trying to program computers with, every single rule of intelligence, like a giant instruction manual.
Yeah, and then the other camp was inspired by the human brain, creating these things called neural networks, which were basically computer systems designed to learn and adapt like we do.
And those neural networks, especially with the rise of deep learning, are what really kicked off the AI explosion we're seeing today.
Definitely. Deep learning is like the secret sauce that made AI actually useful in the real world. It's like, imagine these algorithms as superpowered students. They can devour massive amounts of data and learn patterns that would take humans forever to figure out.
It's mind-blowing how fast these algorithms can learn, right? I mean, it's what's powering everything from those personalized recommendations we get online to self-driving cars.
Exactly, it's everywhere. But it's interesting, while all this was happening, China was actually lagging behind in the AI race, way behind. They were decades behind the US in research and development.
I remember reading about that. They were focused on other things, right? Like manufacturing and infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. Their priorities were different. But then came 2016 and this event that Lee calls China's Sputnik moment, a real wake-up call that changed everything.
Ah, you're talking about the AlphaGo versus Lisa Doll Go match, right? When a machine beat a world champion Go player.
That's the one. It was a huge deal,
Ah.
especially in China. Go was like this ancient game of strategy, and seeing a machine master it, well, it kind of freaked people out. It was like a sign that AI had arrived, and China needed to catch up fast.
And they did catch up, didn't they? Like in a big way.
Oh, yeah. The government went all in on AI, pouring money into research, creating these national initiatives, basically making it a national priority to become an AI superpower.
And they had this different approach, right? It wasn't just about inventing new things. It was about adapting and improving existing tech, often at an incredible speed.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Lee calls it copycat culture. But it's not just about copying. It's about taking something that works and making it even better, faster, and more efficient.
Like the story of Meituan, the food delivery giant. They basically took the Groupon model and ran with it, adding all these new features, expanding like crazy, and it ended up dominating the Chinese market.
It's a classic example of how Chinese companies operate. They're less focused on being the first and more on mastering execution, adapting quickly, and just completely dominating the market. Think about it. Groupon were struggling in the US, but Meituan took that same basic idea and turned it into a multi-billion-dollar company in China.
That's incredible. So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the whole ecosystem, the business model, the way they adapt and execute.
Right, exactly. And this brings us to Zhongguancun, China's answer to Silicon Valley. They're both hubs for innovation, but they operate in totally different ways.
So how are they different? What's the vibe like in Zhongguancun? I've always been fascinated by it.
Well, there's a lot more control, a more top-down approach in Zhongguancun. The government plays a much bigger role, setting goals, providing funding, even influencing which companies succeed.
So it's not quite the same kind of freewheeling, move fast and break things mentality you see in Silicon Valley.
Not really. In Zhongguancun, it's more about creating a cohesive, controlled ecosystem. Take Didi, for example, China's Uber. They don't just connect riders and drivers, they want to own the entire transportation network, from gas stations to repair shops, the whole shebang.
Whoa, that's a lot of control. It's like they're blurring the lines between the online and offline worlds, creating this totally integrated experience.
That's exactly what they're doing. And the best example of this is WeChat. It's not just a messaging app anymore. It's like an entire digital life platform. You can pay for groceries, book a doctor's appointment, invest your money, all within WeChat.
Oh yeah, WeChat is insane. I remember visiting China and being amazed by how everyone uses it for everything. It's like their whole life is on that app.
It is, and it's had a huge impact on things like mobile payments. In China, mobile payments are 50 times more common than in the US.
Yeah, it's like a cashless society over there. You can buy anything with just your phone.
Yeah, exactly. And all of this has been fueled by the Chinese government. They've been actively supporting the AI boom with subsidies, investment funds, and even relaxing regulations to help these companies grow.
It's a stark contrast to how some other countries are approaching AI, with more hesitation and caution.
Oh, definitely. China's approach has been much more aggressive, and it's clearly paying off. They're rapidly catching up to the US in AI development, and in some areas, they're already ahead.
So China's on the AI fast track. But what does that actually mean for the world, for you and me? How is this AI revolution going to change our lives?
Well, Lee breaks it down into four distinct waves of AI, each one transforming our world in different ways. Let's start with the first wave, which is already shaping our online experiences every day, whether we realize it or not.
This is what he calls internet AI, right? The algorithms that are constantly learning our preferences and shaping what we see online.
Exactly. Think about all those personalized recommendations you get on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon. Those are all powered by internet AI.
And China, with its massive user base and platforms like WeChat that track so much of people's digital lives, they've got a treasure trove of data to feed these algorithms, making them incredibly powerful.
And they're masters at monetizing that data. Like the willingness of Chinese users to pay for digital content, especially through those super easy payment systems like WeChat Wallet, it creates a whole different ballgame for businesses.
So China's really leading the way in internet AI, shaping how we consume and interact online. But things are about to get even more interesting as we explore the next three waves of AI and how it'll impact the future of work, society, and even our very sense of what it means to be human.
So we just finished talking about internet AI, all those algorithms kind of quietly shaping our online world. Now let's jump into business AI, where things get, I don't know, a bit more serious.
Serious, but in a good way, though, right? Like AI helping businesses make better decisions, especially in fields like finance and healthcare. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Oh yeah, the potential is huge. Imagine like doctors using AI to analyze medical images and catching diseases super early, way more accurately than before. Or banks using AI to like instantly spot fraud before it blows up.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing stuff. And the US is actually ahead of the game right now in business AI, mostly because they have tons of data and the systems to handle it all.
Wait, hold on. Didn't we just talk about how China has this massive data advantage? I'm a little lost now.
It's not just about how much data you have, it's also about the quality, how it's organized and structured. The US has been building data systems for longer, so they've got a head start. But China's catching up, and they're using AI in ways that the US might not even think of, like pushing the boundaries a bit.
Oh, okay. I love these kind of stories. Give me an example.
All right, so picture this. You're applying for a loan, right? But instead of checking your credit score, the bank looks at your smartphone habits, like how fast you type, how often you charge your phone, even what apps you use.
Oh.
Crazy, right?
Wait, seriously? They're judging whether you're good for a loan based on how you use your phone. That's kind of wild and maybe a little creepy.
It is kind of personal, yeah.
Hmm.
But it's also opening up loans to people who wouldn't normally qualify. Think about folks who might not have a credit history, like young people or newcomers. This AI way of assessing them can actually make things fairer.
That's an interesting way to look at it. So even though the US might be ahead in business AI overall, it sounds like China's finding its own way, shaking things up a bit.
Exactly. And that brings us to the third wave, perception AI, where the digital and physical worlds start to really blend together. We're talking facial recognition, object detection, sensors everywhere, cities that kind of react to our needs in real time. It's like stepping into a sci-fi movie.
Okay, now that's the kind of future I can get behind. Smart homes, personalized shopping experiences, count me in. What's China doing in this space? They must be all over this stuff.
Oh, they are. They call it OMO, online, merge offline. And it's not just some futuristic idea, it's happening now. Think about Xiaomi, this Chinese company that makes everything from smartphones to like smart refrigerators and rice cookers. All these things connected, powered by AI. It's like having an army of robot helpers managing your life, pretty much.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
you walk into your house, the lights change to match your mood, the fridge tells you what to cook for dinner, and your rice cooker just like knows when to start cooking.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hmm.
And since China's a manufacturing powerhouse and people there are pretty open to new tech, they're way ahead in rolling out all these smart devices and building these like seamless FOMO experiences.
It sounds awesome, but there's that whole other side of it too. All that data collection, facial recognition, it does feel a bit creepy.
I hear this. It's a valid concern. While China's racing ahead with perception AI, A lot of Western countries are still wrestling with the ethical side of things, data privacy, surveillance, the potential for misuse. It's a tough balance between pushing innovation and making sure our freedoms are protected.
Yeah, it's like we're at this crossroads, figuring out what kind of future we want, exciting new possibilities on one hand, and some serious concerns on the other. So, what about that fourth wave? What's the next chapter in this whole AI saga?
The fourth wave, this is where things go full-blown sci-fi. We're talking autonomous AI now. Robots and systems operating on their own, making decisions, taking action, no humans needed. Self-driving cars, autonomous drones, robots in factories, hospitals. It's mind-blowing stuff.
Okay, now that does sound a bit Terminator-ish, hopefully without the whole apocalypse part. Who's leading the charge into this autonomous future?
Right now, the U.S. has a bit of an edge, especially with companies like Tesla pushing the limits with self-driving cars. But China's right there, investing heavily in the infrastructure roads, sensors, communication networks, all the stuff needed for a world where autonomous vehicles can rule the roads.
It's like a global race to see who can build the most advanced AI, right? And it's not just about cool tech, it's about power, who controls the economy, even national security, high stakes stuff.
Exactly. But with all this focus on progress and pushing ahead, we can't ignore what might happen along the way. And in his book, Lee doesn't shy away from the big elephant in the room, job displacement. Like what happens to all the jobs when AI takes over?
Yeah, that's the part that always gets me a little nervous. Are the robots really coming for our jobs? And if so, what are we supposed to do about it?
Lee says the real threat isn't like some evil AI trying to take over the world. It's about tasks and even whole industries being automated, which means lots of jobs disappearing. And it's not just factory jobs or truck drivers. White-collar jobs are at risk too.
Like those loan officers we were talking about before, being replaced by those smart finance algorithms.
Exactly. Lee thinks that something like 40 to 50% of jobs could be gone in the next 10 to 20 years. That's a huge chunk of the workforce, and it brings up some pretty serious questions about the future of work and how we prepare for it.
Okay, so if the robots are coming, what's the plan? How do we handle this massive change without ending up in some dystopian nightmare?
This is where Lee's personal story gets really interesting and adds another layer to this whole thing. You see, he had to battle cancer, and that experience made him totally rethink what's important. He shifted his focus away from achievements and success and started valuing human connection and compassion more.
So it's like he's saying that even though AI is great at tasks, it just doesn't have that human element, those qualities that make us unique.
Exactly. And that's where I think the opportunity is. Instead of being scared of AI, we can use it as a tool to free ourselves from all the boring, repetitive work and actually focus on what makes us human. Things like creativity, empathy, caring for each other, building real connections.
Okay, that's a pretty hopeful way to look at it. But it also sounds like a massive change for society. Like, how do we actually get from here to this AI utopia where everyone's happy and fulfilled?
Well, Lee throws out some pretty radical ideas going beyond simple stuff like shorter work weeks or universal basic income. He's really into this idea of a social investment stipend where people get rewarded for doing things that benefit society, things AI can't do. Imagine getting paid to take care of the elderly, mentor kids, or work on community projects.
That's an interesting concept, but wouldn't that require a complete overhaul of like our entire economic system? Who's going to pay for all of this? And is it even possible to do something like that?
It's definitely ambitious, no question about it. But Lee says we need to think big, to be bold, if we want to create a future where humans and AI can actually work together, harmoniously. He's basically challenging us to imagine a world where work isn't just about making money, but about purpose, about making a real contribution to something bigger than ourselves. It really does feel like we're, right on the edge of something huge. Like this wave of AI is about to crash over everything and change, well, pretty much everything. But how do we ride that wave and not get, totally wiped out?
That's the question, right? And Lee's book doesn't like give us all the answers, but it does give us a way to think about it, to navigate this crazy future that's coming. He wants us to go beyond just surviving the AI revolution. He wants us to thrive in it.
Thriving, yeah, I like that. But it's hard to imagine what that even looks like when we're talking about maybe millions of jobs going away.
It's scary to think about.
But what if, and this is what Lee's getting at, what if this whole disruption is actually a chance to create a better society? One where work isn't just about paying the bills, but about doing something meaningful, something you actually care about.
I mean, I would love that, but it's such a huge change.
It is, no doubt about it. And it means rethinking some pretty basic stuff about work and what we value. Remember that social investment stipend we talked about? It's a radical idea, but it's also, I think, a glimpse into a future where we could actually reward people for contributing to society in all these ways that AI just can't.
Like, imagine a world where, like, teachers and caregivers and artists and community organizers, all the people who do so much for society, what if they were actually valued and paid for the work they do? It sounds almost too good to be true.
Right, but Lee's point is we actually have a choice.
Hmm.
We can let AI make inequality worse, or we can use it to build a world where we actually take care of each other.
So it's not just about, like, surviving this AI thing. It's about using it to make a better world, a world that actually puts people first.
And it's not just on governments or these big tech companies to figure it out. We all have a part to play in this.
Hmm.
Lee challenges us to develop those human skills that AI can't touch: creativity, empathy, critical thinking, the ability to connect with other people.
It's like we need to, like, double down on our humanity. Focus on what makes us different, what makes us irreplaceable.
Exactly. AI might be great at doing tasks,
Hmm.
but it can't replicate the human spirit, that thing that makes us who we are.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into AI superpowers, what's the one thing you want listeners to take away from this conversation?
I hope people come away feeling, I don't know, empowered, not just informed, but empowered to actually get involved in this conversation, to ask the hard questions, to demand that AI is used ethically, and to contribute their own talents to shaping this future.
It's a call to action, right? Don't just sit back and let things happen. Be part of creating the future we want.
Exactly. And it's also a reminder that even with all this crazy technology changing everything, it's ultimately our values, our compassion, our creativity, all those human things that will lead us to a better future.
And that's a wrap, folks. Our deep dive into Kai-Fu Lee's AI superpowers has been, well, a real eye-opener. We've covered a lot of ground: China's rise, the power of AI, the challenges we face, but also the amazing opportunities. And most importantly, the importance of, staying human in this rapidly changing world.
And if anyone wants to learn more, if this sparked your curiosity, I definitely recommend picking up Lee's book. It's a really thought-provoking read.
And remember, this isn't just about AI, it's about us, about what it means to be human in this new world that's taking shape. So as you go about your day, think about those big questions. What kind of future do you want? What part will you play in creating it? Keep those questions in mind and keep diving deep. Until next time.